This individual is someone who posted on the Overwatch University subreddit, and they are new to ranked. Now they did tell me the outcome of this game. I won't spoil it, but we're gonna go into this and see, and I'll share what I know as a low master support.
I'm sorry.
Overall, as far as support comps go, Kiriko, Moira, I think is great. I would want Kiriko to just mainly pocket the Orisa, keep her up. And as Moira, I would go for flanks on this map, or if not flanks, even just off angles, and keep your DPS up. Okay, no rock, no deflect. Alright. Okay. Yeah. So it looks like here, I don't think this was your fault per se, but it looks like you guys really split up here, you and your team. So while you were on point with your Orisa, the enemy Sigma was the only one that was really taking this fight. So he got two of you. I didn't know this hand twitched during the pause. That's kind of interesting. So let's look at just what happened to your DPS here. Okay, so they kind of got rolled by the enemy DPS, and what was your Kiriko doing? Nothing. Okay, your Kiriko wasn't healing or really doing damage. That was an unfortunate teleport, but ultimately that splitting up is what cost you this team fight. And my guess is that you and Orisa actually pushed him back, okay, but you didn't get to cap, unfortunately, and you do die, both of you, I assume. Yeah. So, I think really quickly, something I would say is super valuable in lower ranks is just team cohesion. Like I said, some way that Moira could get value on this map is taking off angles, and I think that's off angles are very doable while still not breaking that cohesion. Great job keeping them up. Okay. We take those. Okay, yeah, that was a bit unfortunate. Okay. Great. I think you were able to pump out a lot of healing to assist in that team fight. Skill orb, we take those. Okay, I see. Okay, I see that you really want to go for this off angle here. Like you're looking at it, and I absolutely support that, because if you look at what you're doing here, you're not really providing any value to your team except just healing them when they take poke damage. But look, your Kiriko's right there doing that. So I think going for this off angle, which you're about to do, even if it's just to throw a damage orb, which is I think what you do, is great, and I support that. So you jump up here, throw that damage orb, and then you go back. I think that's fine. I support that off angle if you go to left. Okay. Okay. He's one. Okay. Good. Glad you did that. That's good geometry. I don't think I would have ulted. I think you know that too. But I think it was a bit of a panic ult. Of you knew you were low, and you know, ulting gives you health back, but I think you would have absolutely been fine to win this fight. And ultimately, Moira gets her ult very fast. I don't think that was some game-losing thing that you did. Okay, just a little note about just how to get better geometry orbs, and I think I'll try to even follow this one, is when you throw orbs, to get the most value of bounce, you want to throw them flat. So, you know, in other words, just eye level. So if it bounces right back. The one you're about to throw now, it looks like you threw up. So even if it bounces, it'll bounce up and just not hit anyone. But let's see this. So I think you're coming here to throw the orb. Okay, so it gets some ticks. It gets good damage ticks, but since you threw it like higher, it missed this wall completely, and it doesn't bounce back. Whereas if you threw it like more flat level, which is like this one was amazing. See how it gets much more value on this Cassidy? I'm so low to the ground. Give me up. So let's just like pretend that this orb did the same thing and bounced. Right here, it would then take on the Ana, and it wouldn't kill her because there's a Moira orb coming, but at the very least it would do a little bit of poke damage and get you Coalescence charge. Yeah, this is a bit unfortunate. Yeah. I saw like the attempt to fade out. Yeah. So the way that they buffed Sigma ult, maybe you know this, is that Moira can no longer fade out of it. She used to be able to. But what you can fade out of is that beginning animation. And it looks like you did have fade up from cooldown. So, you know, like the second I see that, I would just fade out. At the very least, away from your team. He's likely not going to wait for you and see where you land. And you threw an orb, which I think was a good attempt, but ultimately I think fading there properly would have been really helpful. It does look like you have some ults coming up, yours, Kiri's, and you have Orisa ult, and DPS even though they're dead. Okay, so okay, I think this is a really good example of target priority. You're coalescing a full HP Sigma when to your right there is a Ana who you heard used sleep, and also a Genji who can't do anything if you beam him. So I just want to see like I want to see what was happening. Okay, so Ana uses sleep and she misses. Amazing. So you go for the Sig. I would have just faded here, and luckily they end up getting this, but your soldier does die, which I want to say was completely avoidable. And this might sound like a bit nitpicky because I feel like you obviously win this round, but the overall concept of target priority is huge. You do win this round, right? Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. First round, I wish I could see the stat card, but I'd say was pretty solid. I think the two notes I have for improvement would be the first, to have your orbs bounce at eye level so they stay at the same horizontal level. You really are like cosplaying Pythagoras himself when it comes to Moira orbs, because the trajectory matters so much. That would be the first note, and the second would be target priority. I think with Moira, that's an easier thing to ask Moira to suck off squishy targets rather than, asking a hit scan player to focus on smaller targets because it's harder for them. Moira, it's a bit easier to aim, especially when you have Coalescence and are against an Ana with no sleep and a Genji who can't do anything about it. Okay, that's fine. I think you got max damage from that orb, even though it was a little high. That's fine. I think this map, the orb geometry is so good, the potential. So I think now your team might be starting to point fingers. Okay, I support that. People don't know to clear sim turrets. You gotta do it yourself. Sim's low. Great. Okay. I think that was a great way to peel for your team. I would leave this point right now. Okay. Zarya is gonna look at you. Yeah. I think I would have faded out before even getting slept. A lot of times fading proactively can really make you live longer. When you faded out, I think it was lucky you even got to do that. And when you did fade out, you had like 20 health and no orb, nothing. Surprisingly, the Zarya didn't even notice you, but I think when you started attacking her, then she and other people saw you there. So, yeah, I think ultimately... Oh, okay, now we see the switch. So, I have a suspicion that the reason you switched to Zen was for Zarya and for her Grav. Possibly for Mei and her Blizzard, but I think mainly for Zarya. And let's see how that plays out.
How's it going?
Or you better stop typing.
They won't quit. Neither will I.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think that's a great off angle. This, I don't support this. I don't support that at all. Oh my god. Okay, somehow you live. Oh my god. Okay. Who is this? What's happening? Oh my god. Saying you feel like you did nothing on Zen. Okay, we're recording. There was a bit of a bug with the audio, and I don't even know if this is going to sound good or flow together. But that being said, I've watched this before, and what I wanted to say about the moment you had here about crossing this, very dangerous in front of their team, and then getting frozen, having to get cleansed, was that then his value comes from his Discord Orb, his Harmony Orb, and his own damage. The thing about all of his kit is that you don't need to really be close to them to get that kind of value. So when that Mei put up her wall, I get the desire or urge to flip through that little place and reunite with your team, but the reality is you provide just as much value if you were to take an off angle such as these steps. So if that were to happen, that wall is there, which can be broken through, or she actually puts down herself, you'd be able to see your whole team. Could put an orb on your Orisa, but ultimately you end up winning this fight, which is good. I will say though that crossing in front of an enemy team like that, especially as Zen, isn't gonna work for much longer. I'm happy it did here. I'm happy you carried this fight on point, but just know that going forward. So this is another part where I see you're looking, you say, you know, where do I go? Do I go out this way? Do I go out that way? And what you end up doing is not picking either and sitting and being sort of complacent. And this is where I think I see what you're saying of you feel like you're not doing much on Zen, because you're right. You're not doing much on Zen when you're just here and not having visual on the enemy. As I said about Discord Orb, your own primary fire is Zen needs to be able to see the enemies to discord them or damage them. Now, if you were Mercy, that could be different, right? You could be just blue beaming your teammates who can see and shoot, but that's not the case. And so what ends up happening is you are sitting here and really providing no value. You have Cassidy Harmony Orb, but that's it. No one's discorded. Zarya discorded, but then she cleanses herself, and you're far back here, still not really providing any value. And now we see you have Trank and the Zarya has Grab, the moment we've all waited for. I would say I can't wait to see how this goes, but like I said, I've already seen this. I'm re-recording it, so let's get to it. Again, you're not really providing any offensive value. You ult because your DPS was about to die. Again, it's you have a healing orb, but that's it. So the biggest issue in that fight was being what I would call complacent, is you're not really adding any value. As Zen, I saw you looking from door to door, you didn't know which way to go, and didn't decide on either, and sat back with your team. All you can do then, as Zen, is put a healing orb on someone. You can't discord or shoot enemies. This is an important thing that I really believe in, is that if you went Zen to have Trank for Zarya's ult, we can see that didn't happen. And I think that switching so that you have a ultimate or an ability that counters an enemy ultimate or ability is not a good enough reason if you're not comfortable playing that hero. If you're not comfortable playing Zen, it's not worth it for so many reasons. For one, if you're saving it for Grav, you could be wasting it when it could have been used earlier. Also, you know, it's gold 4. Zaryas have bad Gravs. Some Zaryas will just Grav nothing, no one. And or it'll be, you know, eaten by your Orisa Spear, or Kiriko will get a really good cleanse. So you're starting Zen again. You have a Pharah and still Kiriko. Yeah, that was a very messy start. And what it looked like was that your team split up in a way that just did not work. So what we'll do is we'll go to the start of the fight.
Hey there.
So it looked like your Cassidy went to the right. No one was with him. That's on him. And he just gets absolutely rolled. And this Moira is doing what we were talking about earlier. Going for the off angle. Come here, Moira. Let's see what you do. She took the longest way possible. I don't know why she didn't go through there. But then look, she throws an orb, kills him, and then leaves. I don't know why she faded there. She's a gold 4. We don't judge, but you know, that's a good example of off angling can be something that you do so briefly. You briefly do what you need to do, throw an orb that's in a really good trajectory, get a pick, and then you go back to your team. It's not something that you're permanently doing. It's not like you never see your team the whole game. This Moira did a Overall, good job at that, at showcasing that. So now you're on Zen Lucio. I'm guessing this is where you switch. Your Pharah is very much hurting. Good for you for orbing her. Good orbing her. Okay. So I see this tendency where you will go on the front line, which some supports can do and get away with if they have disengage abilities, like Moira. If you were doing this as Moira first round, you could fade out. But what I see here is that you are all trapped in this choke, which is an issue, and it's an issue that's not up to you to solve. At the very least, something you could do is, go to one of these doors, either this door over here, and kind of start, poking out this way and seeing them. Although that's not quite the best sight line, but you do keep line of sight on your own team, so you can have them the healing orb, or you could come here. So if you were standing right here, you could see your team, and you could see the enemy team. You could force this BAP off high ground. Huge. Even if you don't kill him, forcing him to drop is huge. Discord him, Discord, who's up here, the Sim, they have high ground, and on this map, high ground is so oppressive. I find that the team who has high ground first has a huge advantage. So this is an example of how you can have a different angle, an off angle as Zen, and still provide the same value. You can still have a heal orb active, a Discord orb active, and be shooting at the enemy and pressuring them. And so, that being said, it doesn't look like, what is going on with these visuals? It doesn't look like you get through this choke. And when you don't get through this choke, you run out there, I'm not sure why, and die. Maybe you were wanting to die so you could switch off of Zen. If so, I get that a bit more.
A reminder that life is
Does the switch happen?
Sigma.
Don't worry, I'll be right behind you.
Alright, the switch happens. The Mercy Lucio comp gets a lot of flack, and I understand it. I don't like playing with Lucios in any regard personally. I think this is fine as long as you know that you'll just be healing the majority of the time. Okay. Oh! Wow. Yeah, I think... Let me see that again. So, your Reaper dies, he goes in, you can't do anything about that. Your Lucio ults, and there Zarya grabs. In that order. I love this elo. Okay, you're playing really good cover. And something that I think is good. Oh my gosh, okay, a lot of things are happening. I was gonna say something that is good is that you're not just super jumping into the air like a lot of Mercies like to do. They're on a hit scan like Cassidy and he just dead-eyed. So that would not have been good for you. But something that I see that you are doing is when you're beaming your teammates, you are almost stuck to their side. I think with Mercy, it can be really helpful to play at a long beam range. The beam stretches up to 15 meters. So playing with that means that your guardian angel can get more value. Because when you're with them, all stacked up like this, your GA doesn't really get you much momentum. Let's see how you use this GA. See, you get almost no momentum with this GA. Actually, you don't even GA. GA was not used there. Okay, I You could have gotten out of that blizzard. So, yeah, okay.
Help me.
I think the main note I have here is you are trying to save your Lucio and heal him when he doesn't need healing at all. He's not in any danger, and he's Lucio. He has a good degree of self-healing. So, he's full health. He takes a little bit of damage, but is going into the building. He's playing cover from the enemy. And you follow him, which is so risky. And it gets you frozen. Oh.
Help me.
Your soldier does die, also because of that. You and Lucio were doing your own thing. Lucio is a teammate that has to be near his teammates to heal them, but I want to see what this would look like if you just stayed here, like stayed right here and not followed your Lucio when he didn't need following. So we're gonna go back a bit. So great. Now, if you were with the rest of your team over here, you would have likely been able to heal them. As Blizzard comes out, as Cohesion comes out, you're 98% ult. You basically have ult. If you're here healing your team, you immediately Valk, then you give them the chain AoE healing, which is big, and it does 50 healing per second, more than she usually does. So I see them, maybe not living throughout all of that, but at the very least, lasting a bit longer, sustaining a bit longer, and you do get this res off, and you do it in Valk, which is good. But if you look, both your Sig and Soldier died. So even if you get this res off, it's a risky res. Look at this. But even if you get it off, you'll still be down 1. I hope you choose to res the Sig. Okay. Your Reaper does die there. That's on him. He ulted when he was like 1 health. We can't do that. We can't do anything about that. It does bring up a good point, though, that when you're rezzing, you are in a way out of the fight for about 2 seconds minimum, because you can't be healing. So a lot of times, getting a res off isn't worth it if it means someone dies. Here, no, that's on the Reaper. But that's something to keep in mind for the future. Go back to you. Alright. Do some verticality now. Okay. Damage boost, damage boost. Damage boost. Okay. I see you wanting it. Brave! Oh my goodness. Somehow that one. Okay. And now right now, what I would be thinking is, oh my god, it's 1-1. Looking at the percentages you both have, it's coming up to last fight. I would be nervous and tracking in my mind, you know, it's been a while since Zarya ulted. Let's see if you know that too. And something that's really important, oh my god, I see her there jumping. She's about to ult, I know it. Something that's really important with playing Mercy is that you being out of Zarya ults is so valuable because it allows you to heal people in the ult and you don't take damage. And part of what allows that to happen more often is when you're not playing inside of your team, right? With Mercy, her value comes from beaming her teammates, occasionally glocking, but mostly from beaming her teammates. So what gets Mercy the most value is when you can see your team, but the enemy can't see you. Right here, you're just way out in the open, and I can tell that Zarya sees all these health bars, and she is gonna grab this. Okay, you make it out. You didn't get grabbed. Let me see this. Alright, let's see how you did this. First of all, Sig, why are you back here? Why are you on point? Get up there. You see them. You might think this is the best thing to do. It's not. First of all, it's not. Secondly, you see this. Go with your team. Okay.
Огонь по готовности.
Okay. So. Yeah. That was just a really good grab. And there's not much you could have done about it. Your Lucio was nowhere near beat either. You did manage to escape the grab. However, something that I did notice was so you're holding beam on the soldier and he's near you, right? The soldier is not breaking line of sight. Switch to Lucio. And then you switch back to the soldier and then you drop beam. So if you have toggle beam on here, alright. As I was saying, if you have toggle beam off, which I do have that as well, you have to hold right click or left click to have your beam on. The downside of that means if you ever let go, then you drop beam, and it looks like that's what happened. Now, your soldier's critical and he's in a grav, so he's gonna die anyway. But I do wonder how often that happens to you, and maybe in different scenarios if it actually costs the fight. I have no qualms with that res. Worth a shot. Now it's really coming up to the last fight, the overtime fight. You know Zarya doesn't have grav. In your mind, they only recently switched to Genji, Reaper, so they might be close, but I don't think they have it yet. You can see your team. I really recommend pressing tab to see what you have all throughout the game, but especially in spawn or as you're walking back to the fight. So if you do that, you see that you have Sig ult, and you're about to have Valk. Sig ult and even Valk can be really helpful here. Okay, Lucio's touching, which is good. That's what you should be doing. Oh, no. No, yeah, okay. No, no rank, in no rank do you live that. So, it's interesting. We see the same thing happen where you try to save your Lucio who doesn't need saving. This time it's a bit more understandable. He's alone on point. People are seeing him and they're shooting at him. But, and as unfortunate and scary as that must be for him, you are going through a Genji, a Lucio, a Zarya who's about to turn around and see you. And you're not going to make it to him. The cherry on top of why this is not worth it, it never would be anyway, but you're 90% to grab, and this is the last fight. If you die, you're not going to touch point again, likely. And if the Lucio does die, it's the overtime timer, right? So his soul will stay there for the longer overtime respawn time. In that time, you can absolutely get Valk. And if you really needed to, fly to him and res him. Let's see what happens. Okay, that was the enemy Lucio. Sig ults, big, Genji's gonna be dead. Your Lucio ults. And they clean up. They clean up. Look at that. Your Lucio did not need saving. And I get wanting to go in and help your other support, but that's when they need help, and that's when you can provide help. He didn't need help, nor could you provide help. I think that was probably the most obvious error I saw in this game. However, as you can see, and as you showed me and told me, you won, and the game's about to end, but I just want to say, that was really lucky because if you look at the Reaper and Genjis, they both died just before having ult, so that was huge that they did. Okay, you win. Nice. Overall, the tips that I gave and that I would go over is for Moira and Zen, and a lot of other supports too, off-angling is huge, and it's even better when you don't take away from your value. So when you're Zen, being able to orb your teammates and orb the enemy, but also hit them from a different angle, you're getting more value than you would just sitting with your team because you're making the enemy look elsewhere, but you're still able to use all your orbs. For Moira, same thing with off-angling. Also, using your fades a bit more proactively, not when you need to when you're about to die, but when you know that danger is there. And cosplaying Pythagoras a bit more with the high level orb bounces to get max value. As a general rule, but I think I saw this with your Mercy more, is don't save people who don't need to be saved, because best case scenario, you put your value into where it's not needed. Worst case scenario is you die or you leaving causes a teammate to die. Neither of those are worth it. And lastly, I'll say taking risks and making those decisions. As we saw round 2 when you were Zen, looking between those two doors, not knowing what to do, and so doing nothing isn't the right answer. Both doors would have been a risk, and you won't know if that was the right risk until you take it. But what I can tell you is taking either one of those risks would not have been worse than just not doing anything and sitting back with your team. Ultimately, this was a good game. I know you said you were new to comp, and Gold 4 is a great place to start. If you continue the journey to climb, I think you will do a great job, and I wish you the best in your climb.